The more I reflect back on last night's loss for the Buffalo Bills, the more incensed I get. What was going on in the final minute with Sean McDermott and the play calling? Stevie Johnson, please explain it to me.
Yeah, man, it's tough to call. It's hard to go against having a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback just take it up the middle or utilize that pass run option and save the time. It was a difficult decision, but they went with the QB sneak twice, and it ultimately costed them.
The thing that really drew my ire, Chris, was how it seemed that nobody had any idea what was going on beyond the current play. In the NFL, you need to be prepared for the next play before the current play is being run. And it seemed to me like the Buffalo Bills were just doing it all on the fly, and ultimately it cost them.
They looked very confused after when the first sneak didn't work. It was kind of like, well, now what do we do? And I think maybe they all expected it to work, and it has that great success rate. But how do you not just throw it a couple times and then you can always go back to the sneak? Because
yes.
And I thought Brady called it perfectly. You kind of lost the game by having to use that timeout.
You heard him immediately say it. He said this could have cost them the game. Well, you don't take that timeout in that position. You need that timeout later.
Welcome into Broken Table. That's Tekeyah Singh. That's Chris Hein. That's Stevie Johnson. I'm Aaron Korolnek. We're breaking down the Bills and the Rams 44-42. An incredible game.
Game of the year.
With an incredibly frustrating conclusion to it if you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills. And I think for a lot of Bills fans, last night represented your biggest and deepest concerns about this football team. The decision-making at the end of games, whether it be Sean McDermott or Joe Brady or Josh Allen, and I think a lot of it is justified. You have to be concerned, and this is not a moment in isolation. Yesterday, we think back to 13 seconds. We think back to a lot of instances over the years.
The
Texans game this year, where I'm not sure I trust this Bills brass to make the right call in the big moments. And yesterday, to me, was just yet another example of that. Yesterday
was one of those things. However, we saw what the Buffalo Bills done against the Kansas City Chiefs in the late in the game with the 4th and 2. And I guess as a Bills Mafia crew, we assume that they do the same thing, utilize Josh's legs and the options to run and pass in that situation. But, they didn't choose that. And that's where we were kind of confused at why they had no idea what to do. AK, that kind of threw me off there.
It's just keeping that timeout is the most important thing.
You need
to preserve all 3 timeouts to have a realistic shot, because an onside kick, I think the number of the broadcast, they said 7%.
4%? Oh, yeah, I thought it was 4.
It's just too low. You need to do whatever you can to keep that timeout. And you're coming out of a play where Josh gets out of bounds, you have your clock is stopped, you have the time to make the right decision. So if you are going to sneak it, which I think you disagree with, you need to be like, okay, once this doesn't work, if it doesn't work, be ready to get up and sneak it right away.
Not call the timeout.
Yes, do this within 10 seconds or something. But if that's me, I think you try to throw a couple times, and if that doesn't work, then you reassess. But to go further into this, let's look at the punt, because the Bills had 9 people on the field. How are you not trying to send a block? How are you letting a punt it's going into the end zone? Guess we lost.
Yeah.
You at least got to try to return that.
I think the end of the first half was yet another example of questionable play and calling, very conservative. It's a major concern. But at the end of the day, even if Josh Allen scores or he hits somebody in the end zone, it was a game in which the odds were stacked against the Buffalo Bills making that comeback simply because they couldn't defend Puka Nacua, nor could they defend Matthew Stafford. And the defense has to be a major concern. We have the Lions game coming up this week, Stevie. But what did you see from the Bills defense that allowed the Rams just to do whatever they pleased, especially when it comes to Stafford to Nacua?
Yeah, after watching that game, I just felt like Sean McVey dialed up a great game plan. They had guys going sideline to sideline, left and right, and up the middle with Williams, the running back. And then at the end of the day, I saw a great competition with the Buffalo Bills defense. Puka Nacua had a historic game. But when you watch all of those receptions, there was tight coverage. It was just a great ball, great ball and great catch by Puka. And that will ultimately made a difference with continuously keeping the Buffalo Bills offense off the field. And that ultimately killed the Bills at the end of the game, AK.
That's another one where Brady called it perfectly, where it's like perfect pass, perfect catch. You can't defend that. And to Stevie's point, a lot of the coverage was right there. And credit to them doing that. But I want to touch on what Stevie said at the beginning of that. And this is the one thing that kind of gives me pause with the Bills when thinking, yes, they're going to be a Super Bowl winning team. the margins are so thin, and a guy like Sean McVey gives you a little bit of that edge to win. And I think we saw yesterday with McDermott, and we can even look at the holding penalty. Why, if you're going to accept that holding penalty and make it 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 15, as opposed to 4th and 7, why are you then playing soft on the next play?
It's a great point.
You need to. What's the point of doing that if you're just going to give up 10 yards and then they're going to be in the same position they were before anyways? Send some pressure, especially when your defensive line is getting no pressure on a 4-man rush.
Yeah, it was the easiest 11-yard gain you'll ever have, and you put yourself right back in the same spot you were in before. And a lot of people are critical of the Bills for accepting that penalty and not declining it. And the Rams may have kicked the field goal, although I'm skeptical. I think if they go for it 4th and 5, they probably go for it on 4th and 7.
Yeah.
But we'll never really know. I don't know if McVey was asked that question post-game, but in any case, it was just a dismal series of events for the Buffalo Bills. Really, frankly, embarrassing for them. And it just looked like a disorganized group that didn't know what they were doing in crucial moments. And again, this is something that's plagued this organization for a long time now.
But I also think it was both sides of the ball. I know that defense had issues. Offense too. Why did they abandon the run?
Well, they weren't running successfully, so I kind of get that. It seemed, and this has been an issue the last couple of weeks. It's been tough sledding for them running the ball.
Yep. Beyond Josh Allen, that is.
Yes.
But yeah,
We talk about bearing the lead. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. First player to do that, first quarterback to do that since 1954. Otto Graham.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Sorry about that. But, I mean, a legitimately legendary performance
Otto
from
Graham
Josh
did
Allen.
it in the NFL championship game though, to win a title.
Slightly more legendary, but, I mean, Josh Allen, you can just give him the NFL MVP award now. But for him to do that in a loss, Stevie, I mean, what can you say? What superlatives can you conjure up other than just exceptional from Josh Allen yesterday?
What Josh Allen displayed was great, and it felt like something that he can do week in and week out. But to Tekeyah's point, like abandoning the running game, we tried it with Cook, but we didn't try it with Ray Davis. We didn't try it with our other options. A part of that running game is the screen game, throwing it behind the line. Those are extended handoffs, and they were really successful at it. And I would like to see them get Ty Johnson even more involved in the first quarter, mix it up even more so that James Cook can have his legs under him late in the game. But then also adding with why Josh was so special is because they played behind. They was behind on those possessions. The defense, I don't want to say they had jet lag. I just want to credit McVey on his wizardry. The offensive line did well, even in protection. They was chipping our guys. You seen Greg Rousseau get hit, fall on the ground. They was chipping Von Miller. They did an excellent job. But to close it off with Josh's performance, I feel like it's something that we see week in and week out. I'd be surprised that it's a new record because I felt like he done it the week before. You know what I'm saying?
It does seem like every week it's like, Josh Allen did this. No one since 1976 did this. No one since 71 did that.
There's the popular meme that Bills Mafia loves, and it's the cutoff graphic of Josh Allen, first quarterback ever. And it's like, yeah.
No, he did.
Insert
It's
there.
always now. He's minus 450 right now for the MVP. I think we can just stop that. Like he ran the ball better than Saquon Barkley did yesterday, and that's not even counting his passes. I want to touch on something Stevie said though, because I think you could tell early it wasn't working for Cook. So why not when you have a guy like Ray Davis who can bring that physicality, why not just switch it up? Give Ray Davis a couple more carries just to try to establish the run in a different way, because it seemed like the way Cook was playing, it just wasn't happening.
It's an abandonment of a philosophy that they've really embraced all year, right? They have been a ground-based attack for the vast majority of this season. And like you look at yesterday, Amari Cooper with 14 targets. I think that's an exciting proposition for the Buffalo Bills, having as many targets yesterday as he had in his previous 6 games combined. Definitely speaks to me that Allen trusts Amari Cooper and that he's ready to take the next step. But I was really perplexed as well, where it seemed like they were just focusing in on the aerial attack as opposed to what's actually been working all year long.
Also, if you look at the Rams stats, the Rams give up the 4th most rushing yards to running backs. So why are you not attacking that? That's for me.
So now, before the people in the comments will get after us for being so negative about the Bills, I'm going to frame this. I'm going to frame this in a positive.
Okay.
And I did want to do this right away, due to our own credibility, because I was pissed off too. But here we go. 2023, Bills lose to the Eagles in OT, win 5 straight to close out the regular season. 2022, Bills lose, and these are arguably game of the seasons too, just like yesterday.
Sure.
Bills lose a wild one to the Vikings in OT, win 7 straight to close out the season. 2021, Bills lose to Tampa in OT, and I don't know if you remember that game. They came back at the half, and the whole team kind of like
that was Brady's last year in Tampa
team. They win 4 straight to close out the regular season. This loss could be the best thing that could have happened for him, as these guys can now rally around this, close out the season strong as they have the 3 previous years. Stevie, do you see that happening? And is there such thing as a good loss in football?
Yeah, hey, very interesting take, Hein. That was a great one because I thought about that. I was like, maybe this is a good thing that they take this L right now, so they don't have to have that added question in the media. Hey, you got this streak going on, this and that, blah blah blah. Now, look, we got this loss. Now we back on the hunt, you know. And I feel like, yeah, it is a good loss. We was talking in our group chat, and I said I felt like I'm getting soft because as a player, I don't accept any type of loss, you know, whether it's on me, on someone else, you know, I want to win everything. But looking at that game, I was satisfied with the competition, you know, with the competitive level of the entire team, because although they were down 10 plus points, they were still down to 1 possession, you know, to win that game. And those are the type of games that you see Super Bowl matchups, you know, between teams that can run the ball very well, you know, which we see in the NFC, and teams like the Buffalo Bills who can match up with anybody, you know. And once we get that full roster, look at that. Amari Cooper, 14 targets. And you see what he did. We didn't have Keon or Kincaid. Yep. Knox only got 1 catch, I believe. You know, the team is still dynamic and, you know, still a lot of more season to go.
Also, too, that was a desperate Rams team.
That's
a Rams team playing for their season. So you're going to get the Rams are like, they're Michael Myers. You can't kill them. It doesn't matter what or when. That team is always going to be in the hunt. And credit to McVey. I have him as one of the 3 best coaches in the NFL.
Very form-fitting shirts he wears too.
He's a little tight.
McVey. They are way too tight. Relax
too tight
there,
with those
McVey.
shirts. And honestly, man, who doesn't love Stafford? Stafford's just a baller. And that guy was throwing dimes, and it's like, tip your hat to, like, we just had a performance of 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL going head-to-head. Someone had to win it.
So it sets the stage for this game against Detroit for Buffalo coming up this week, which is, I'm not going to call it a must-win if the Bills want to win the number 1 seed, because Kansas City, who we'll get to.
It might already be over.
It might already be over. According to ESPN, the Chiefs have a 77% chance to win the 1 seed in the AFC, which does seem a little bit low, but I think it also implies that the Chiefs just aren't that good and inexplicably win football games week after week. And the Bills have a really easy finishing schedule: New England, the Jets, and New England. Yeah. So I know they have Detroit coming up, but I don't think the 1 seed is over. Now, you got to get the 2 seed. That's one thing you need if you're the Buffalo Bills. Pittsburgh scares me.
Pittsburgh won't scare you and let's bring it up right here and let's look at this Pittsburgh schedule, because this should not scare you. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
And I've already, me and Chris B, who's a show staffer behind the scenes.
Legend.
We both went and looked at the odds, because the Ravens to win the division is an interesting bet when you look at who Pittsburgh finishes with. Steelers finish at Eagles, at Ravens, versus Chiefs on Christmas, versus Bengals.
I take everything I just said back.
That Pittsburgh could be 4 losses.
Yes, I think Pittsburgh is not necessarily vying for the 2 seed, but you need to get that 2 seed, because you drop down to 3 if you're the Bills, and it does seem unlikely based on what you said and based on what the Bills' schedule is. But I don't think anyone wants to see Baltimore in round 1, especially if you're Pittsburgh or if you're Buffalo. That's a matchup I think you want to avoid at all costs. You show me Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos in round 1. Thank you very much.
Even the Chargers. The Chargers looked good yesterday, but yeah, give me the Chargers in round 1. That's fine.
Me too.
But even the Chiefs, though, now the Chiefs in the 1 seed, they go at Browns versus Texans, at Steelers Christmas Day, at Broncos. So you basically need them to go 2-2, and you need to win out. It's not crazy.
No, it's very, very possible. I think that this Detroit game that's coming up, I mean, you saw what the Rams just did to Buffalo offensively, putting up 44 in Stafford, Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. Detroit has a very similar offensive punch with all their studs. I mean, the list is too long to rhyme off. So Buffalo, they better figure out some things defensively ahead of this game against Detroit.
Yeah, it goes back to the running game again. Detroit has the 2 best running backs in the league, I would say. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to, can they defend the run? And it doesn't seem like they can right now.
I honestly feel like Buffalo needs to go into that Detroit game selling out to stop the run. You need to be like, and Davis has talked about it before, how they played so much more man coverage. And yesterday, Stafford was picking apart that zone coverage. So maybe they need to do that. You need to sell out to stop the run and let Goff beat you.
Also, 4th down stops. Because Detroit goes for 4th down
all the
time.
How about 3rd down stops?
Well, 3rd down stops,
and the Rams,
yes.
The Rams, Stevie, heading into yesterday, were 30th in the NFL defending 3rd downs. And the Bills allowed LA to go 11 for 15 on 3rd down, including their first 11 3rd down conversions. What do you attribute that to? Because the Buffalo Bills, for the most part this year, have been really good on 3rd down defensively, and the Rams have been really bad offensively. and it just went the absolute worst it could possibly go yesterday.
Yeah, I attribute that to everything you guys were saying, about the Rams being desperate. They're fighting to get to the playoffs, so they're playing their best game. Then you got a Buffalo Bills that's hot, just defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. You go play your best football. So that's where all that came from. The third down conversions, from being last in the league to dang near looking immortal in third down. Then that fourth down was huge. The 4th and 5. That play was big, from Matthew Stafford to the receiver Atwell. Amazing break at the top of his route to keep Christian Bedford at bay. And Bedford is one of our best cornerbacks. So I just got to give respect to what the Rams did, and they showed up and they defeated our Buffalo Bills, AK, and that's just all I can think about right now.
And I think this is the beauty of the NFL, is that the Bills coming off a dominant win against San Francisco. They just beat the Chiefs before the bye. Then you give up 44 to the Rams, and everything else is forgotten. It's just like, oh, we got to focus in on this moment and this moment alone. And it was a really ugly game. They couldn't defend anything the Rams were doing. A very desperate team, as you mentioned. I just don't know how high my concernometer is with Buffalo's defense right now, but maybe you feel differently.
Honestly, I look at that as kind of just like a one-off.
Yeah.
And sometimes great offense is always going to beat great defense. And the way Stafford was playing, that guy just wasn't missing. So
that old man can still sling
and to
it.
Stevie's point, like, Benford, not only one of our best corners, he might be an all-pro this year. Like, the advanced numbers with Benford are amazing. And those guys were sticky. It's just the Rasul Douglas injury, depending on what we learn from that, could be tricky. But I'm not concerned Lions-wise that we're going to have another performance like this, because I just don't think Goff is good enough to kind of, and traditionally we know McDermott and the Bills have a good secondary and they usually limit the pass. I don't see Goff doing this. Now, if you're going to say Gibbs and Montgomery are going for 100 each and then that's what they're going to lose, yeah, maybe you can convince me of that, but I don't think they're going to get torched through the air like this again.
I can guarantee you that's the game plan for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
All right, Gibbs. All right, Montgomery, go ahead.
Stop the run.
Yeah, and then you're going to have Goff go one-on-one with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. I think that might be the game plan for Buffalo. Man, I can't wait for this game. You guys see the ticket prices for that game? I was thinking about going. Like, it was like $800 standing room seats.
Cheapest in is like $600, $650 US or something like that.
It's like a Taylor Swift concert at the Detroit Lions Stadium.
Now, here's my thing too with the Bills, and I'm gonna just be a little more sprinkle a little more positivity onto things. Who looked good this week? Because Philly, if Xavier Legette can hold on to a ball, Philly loses to Carolina. If a doink doesn't happen in the Chiefs game, the Chargers beat the Chiefs. So, like, who looks? Pittsburgh looked good, sure. Pittsburgh, they look good, but who, like, this Bills showed a lot of fight and a lot of courage to battle back and almost take that game. I would be more concerned with what I saw from KC than what I saw from Buffalo.
I couldn't agree more, and I don't know if it's Tarantino or Scorsese, but the scriptwriters for the ways that Kansas City continues to win games, it's the most creative outcomes you could possibly imagine. It doesn't make sense. That doink from, 31, off the left upright and through, how that goes. They continue to win games that are coin flips. And I think it's 15 straight wins in one-score games for Kansas City. It doesn't make sense. At some point, the bubble will burst. But I do fear that it's next year after they've reeled out a bunch of wins heading into the end of the season, into the playoffs, Stevie.
Yeah, man, it's a competitive league. This is probably the most entertaining historic football season that I've witnessed, and I'm just glad to be a part of it right now with you guys.
Honestly, Stevie's been saying it for weeks. The Chiefs know how to win these close games.
They do. It's crazy, man.
It's the Breaking Bad. They can't keep getting away with this. Like, that's kind of what's happening.
You can't keep getting away with it.
Hey, look, the irony is the last play that the Chiefs won to secure that with that rollout and toss to Kelsey, that's our play. That's what the Bills is supposed to run. That's what we do, not the tush push. That's Philadelphia. Come on. Stick with your guns, Buffalo.
The old adage that good teams win, great teams cover does not apply to Kansas City. They haven't covered 7 straight games against the spread. And I just struggle to interpret what this means for Kansas City going forward. We have seen them lose to Buffalo in that incredible game a few weeks ago, but are they a great team?
I think, yes. If this season in a vacuum, I think has the vibes of the Vikings from 2 years ago winning all the close games and Philly through 10 games last year in a vacuum. But we're not looking, this Chiefs team is not in a vacuum. We know they have the pedigree of all those Super Bowls, of Mahomes MVPs, of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Reed in the history. So, like, we have to look at that, and that's how we have to evaluate it. because when the Vikings team was winning all those close games, we're like, yeah, this is a bit fugazi because it's Kirk Cousins. Patrick Mahomes is not Kirk Cousins. So like yes, they're a great team and they should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
If this was done like the college football playoffs and you had a committee ranking the best teams in the NFL, would the committee have Kansas City in the top 3? I don't think so.
Do you know why they would? Because the college football committee always plays off of their biases at the beginning of the season.
Very true.
And the Chiefs' bias at the beginning of the season was they're the best team in the league.
That is true, but I think you also have to look at recency bias where the Buffalo Bills did beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to have the Bills ahead of Kansas City as far as I'm concerned in the hypothetical NFL college football playoff bracket. And I think you definitely have Detroit. I think Kansas City's 3rd, maybe 4th behind Philadelphia. Just the way the Eagles have been playing of late as well. Stevie, you're not buying it?
But one loss, because I just look at the losses, like we have 3 losses as a Bills team. You can't put them past the 12-1 team. That's what I feel, But yeah, college football rankings be wild.
Yeah, that is true.
It's so frustrating because the Chiefs are winning by a toe, a doink, a missed pass interference, a fluky snap.
Oh my God.
The Raiders one was the worst.
It's happened so many different ways. It's ridiculous. It's got to end at some point. Like if the Chiefs went 1-3 down the stretch and lost in the first round, I would not be surprised at all. But simultaneously, I would not be surprised if they just won out from here as well. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. And a lot smarter people have doubted the Kansas City Chiefs than I, and I've come to look stupid, but I am officially off the Chiefs bandwagon. This is it, Stevie. I'm done. I don't buy this team at all, and I think when they run up against real competition come playoff time, it's going to go a lot different than it has.
Hey, and I'm with you on that. All of this great talk about the Chiefs is because they're doing great things. But am I afraid of the Chiefs? Not at all. I feel like if we run into the Chiefs in the playoffs, we will handle our business. I'm only worried about that dominant run game that I saw dominate us early in the season with Baltimore Ravens. But do I feel like they will beat us or handle us when we meet them in the playoffs? No, I'm still not afraid of that because the Buffalo Bills are proven and they're ready for this. And in this game, pass game is going to prepare them for this upcoming game against another top offense in the Detroit Lions. Which I like to add is I don't think it's going to be as easy for Detroit because I don't think they run sideline to sideline to slow our defensive ends and our linebackers down. They more of a meet you in the middle. We'll use our talent versus your talent, which is playing into our favor with a bend but don't break type of defense. So I'm very optimistic about this upcoming game also.
I'm with Stevie. I think the Bills beat the Lions. I'll probably tease the Bills up. Getting the Bills at plus money and like plus 2.5, tease that nicely to 8.5.
It's under a field goal.
Yeah, it's 2.5, but it was minus 105. We're taping this obviously Monday morning. I just think I love that Detroit is coming off of that nail biter win against the Packers, and the Bills are coming in off of a loss. Does Buffalo need it's both teams are kind of comfortable?
The Packers threw for 200 yards. The Packers threw for 200 yards and they lost to the Detroit Lions by 3 points. Josh Allen's making historical days, 6 touchdowns, 400,000 yards rushing in one game. And you think he's going to lose? Like I don't think he's going to lose that game. So I'm really not worried about the Detroit Lions, but they're doing great this year.
And it looks like guys like Kincaid and Coleman are nearing a return. It looked like
we've been saying that for weeks.
You're right. It looked like Kincaid was going to play yesterday. Ultimately, didn't suit up. Keon Coleman practicing in a limited fashion. You get those guys back. It's going to be a track.
We need that. It's time.
It's indoors. It's in Detroit. What's the total? 53.5?
I think it's 53.5, and I think that's the highest total we've seen all year.
And that doesn't surprise me in this latest. I'd be stunned if it wasn't 35 late in the fourth quarter with one team driving to win, and we hope it's the Buffalo Bills.
The only person who's arguably playing quarterback better than Josh Allen this year, and it hasn't really mattered, has been Joe Burrow. And so what perfect time to transition to Monday night and talk about this amazing story with Joe Burrow. Let's play the sound right now. Joe Burrow buying a Batmobile.
I told you I bought a Batmobile.
Did you get it yet, though?
I don't get it for like a year, but I bought it.
That's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be crazy. You gotta go to the Ventures Batman when he had the ass eye thing on.
I think I gotta go all in and go for like the expensive bats.
The suit and all. That's gonna be funny as hell, though. I ain't gonna lie. That's gonna be hilarious. How about that with a cape on, bro?
What if I wore it to every game? I just wore the full bat suit, Batmobile to every game. If I go crazy on Halloween,
what? I mean, yeah.
Then
I would be like, yeah, whatever. Getting 2, yeah.
507 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'd wear it again.
I wear that
You gonna get lost in there. It's so dark in there
Get out that Batmobile. T in the corner with the cape.
with the cape.
We all watched this clip, and I think, AK, your mind went exactly where mine went when we saw this, and that is Stevie Johnson. What is your biggest, dumbest, most fun purchase you've made, like similar to Joe Burrow buying a Batmobile?
Okay, now I don't have Joe Burrow money to spend 2.9 million on a Batmobile that doesn't have a microwave in it, but I might have spent 300,000 on a bowling alley addition into my house. I'm not a professional bowler, so that probably was the wildest purchase that I spent, but the family love it and our community love it, so that's probably the highest and the wildest spend I've done. But 2.9 million on a car. That's crazy.
I have so many questions.
Dude, I love the bowling alley in your house is amazing.
And you welcome the community in, like friends, family, people come by and hang out and bowl with you?
That's practical.
Yeah, and we do monthly community events like charity, bowling with the family. I make fun out of it, but it was definitely something that I didn't need, though. I didn't need that. I don't know anybody
What a
that
great
needs
guy.
a
I love
Batmobile.
this guy. What an amazing guy.
First, I have two questions. First question, have you bowled a 300 games? Second question, when is Broken Table getting invited out to California for the bowling? Like, we got to do a bowling show or something.
Yeah, now you've just been invited. That's when closed mouths don't get fed. There it is. Come out anytime. We'll set it up. It'll be a great time for real. And I haven't bowled a 300 yet, but that's my goal now. I'm gonna try to get that 300, and I'm gonna send you the footage of it.
Wow, those great clips of Mookie Betts bowling a 300 game as one of the great athletes. I mean, forget just baseball, bowling. And Stevie Johnson, you got to get those clips going on social media as well.
If you're making Joe Burrow money, what's your purchase, Tekeyah? Start with you.
Oh gosh, I don't know. A plane, something.
You just want to Taylor Swift it?
Yeah.
And go everywhere?
Yeah.
Yes. The Amalfi Jets TikTok account has really brought me in, and I want to get one of those jet cards.
Oh,
where
so you're on
just
the same
fly
page.
wherever you want. Oh, it'd be incredible.
See?
It's like, where I would like to go to today? Let's go to New Zealand for a couple weeks. Now, I do have the responsibilities here with Broken Table. Would never abandon you guys. But that is a great idea. I
Right?
could definitely get on board with that. Oh, nice
Global
double entendre.
travel.
I feel like I'm going to be extra basic with whatever my estate I have on. Just build a lovely par 3 golf hole.
Oh, that's a good idea,
And
too.
that's what I would kind of want with mine.
AK would be there every day.
Augusta membership, let's add that on too.
So, Stevie, now let's transition to tonight's game, because I think inspired by Joe Burrow's Batmobile, you got the Bengals covering as your best bet tonight?
Yeah, I got them covering. I got the Bengals to cover and win by more than 5.5. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals are having trouble at home. With this game, if the Bengals was at home, I might have went to the Cowboys, but since the Cowboys are playing at home, I'm going with the Bengals because the Dallas Cowboys are 1-5 at home. That's terrible, and I feel like Cincinnati's coming to wreck the day. Even though Burrow's got a Batmobile and that's the Joker slogan, but they're coming to wreck the day in Dallas.
Yeah, big day for Canadian Chase Brown.
Yes, it
We
is.
love Chase Brown.
We do.
And you think he's
We're
going to
on the
have a
same
big
page a
performance?
lot
We
today.
are.
Yeah,
We are indeed.
and me always talking about run defense and running backs. I'm going to go Chase Brown to get a touchdown. The Dallas Cowboys have the 31st ranked run defense, so Chase Brown finds the end zone.
I love Chase Brown as well, the pride of London, Ontario. Over 23.5 receiving yards. This guy's been racking them up. 8 targets per game in the last 4 games.
I like that.
Without
I
Zach
love that.
Moss.
Yeah.
Burrow's just dropping him off to Chase, and he could do that on a single play against that pathetic Dallas Cowboys defense. So Chase Brown, touchdown, maybe on the same play.
Oh.
Cash both of our bets.
We'll be in the chat.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
I will close it out with a CeeDee Lamb over 6.5 receptions. He only had 2 last time we saw him against the Giants. Before that, though, 6, 8, 10 catches last 3 games. Bengals, 27th in the NFL against the pass, but over the last 3 games, dead last in the NFL. They are just getting torched. So to complete that, I will go with CeeDee. And as we look at the updated standings, last week, I was the only one who hit my bet. Everyone let us all down. Stevie kind of got screwed though because of a Jameis pick 6 where they should have covered. But I am now tied with Stevie at 10-3.
Wow.
So I'm coming for the crown, Stevie.
Yeah.
Let's go. Welcome.
At least Davis is in
Welcome.
last still, so
Yes.
that is still appropriate. We enjoy that. Sorry, Davis.
He'll clean up these last 5 games, though. I got faith.
This is kind of a fun Monday nighter. There is some tasty props out there. I think Chase is interesting. I like Chase, I like CD, and I like both QBs. That's sort of the square
Yes.
parlay for tonight. But I don't know. Hopefully we get a fun shootout with two bad teams. But let's close out with this. Who's been the bigger disappointment this year, Cincinnati or Dallas?
Dallas.
I think it's.
Go Cincinnati.
I would definitely go Cincinnati. I don't think anyone really looked at Dallas as a Super Bowl contender. And Burrow coming back from that wrist with Higgins, with Chase. It's just their defense has been an abomination.
Yeah.
Awful. Like Burrow's numbers are MVP worthy.
It's
Jamar
true.
Chase is Offensive Player of the Year worthy statistically, but their team just sucks. It doesn't make any sense other than the fact that they're going to need a complete revamp of their defense, including my guy Big Lou Anarumo, who will likely be looking for new employment because anytime
That
your
guy got hired
defense
so fast.
maybe, but I mean, you could blame it on personnel too. There's no doubt about it. But for Cincinnati to be as bad as they are with that offense, and they're not getting any better next year. Higgins is going somewhere else, so they better ante up for Chase, find new guys to develop. But for me, it is Cincinnati is the bigger disappointment.
Tekeyah, why are you saying
No,
Dallas?
I do agree with that based on expectation, but also Dallas just paid their quarterback a lot of
60
money,
mil.
and he's not even playing right now.
Yeah, that hamstring
I
very
don't know.
problematic for Dak.
Stevie, what about you? Who's been the bigger disappointment, Cowboys or Bengals?
60 million to a QB, that's very disappointing. I guess I'm on the fence, and I'm cool with it. Both sides, man.
My
Both teams
sources
are-
out of Dallas tell me that Dak Prescott built a bowling alley as an extension to his house, and he's welcoming in the entire community, Dallas-Fort Worth, right into his home.
Dak wishes he had the swag of Stevie
no
Johnson,
one has
that's
the
for sure.
swag of Stevie
And-
Johnson.
So on that note, you play us out, Stevie.
Hey, look, I got this actually from Kurt Warner. Hey, don't bet if you can't afford to lose, all right? Remember that. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in to the Broken Table. We love y'all. Continue to tune in, and don't forget to handle business, have fun, and repeat. One love from the Broken Table.